Follow the Money Media Frenzy. Let's take a journey back in time and cover what the smaller media outlets had to say about the media circus brought to the public by the larger media conglomerates. The backlash headlines. Irresponsible reporting made bad situation worse. It's getting hard to tell. Is it news or is it theater? Son of Sam, the media as the maniac. What's reporting? Exploiting? Spare us more insights from the son of sensationalism. Son of Sham. Son of Sam circus ends long run in Gotham City. Arrest of Son of Sam boosts newspaper sales. New York newspapers sell like crazy with glaring headlines of arrest. Let's dive in. Reference Media Frenzy link on the Follow the Money slide. All articles are available on the Son of Sam timeline. Breslin pulls in the Mad Bank on several projects he was commissioned for by different periodicals. I will be covering this on a separate video. Daily News, August 7th, Sam and the Press. James Boylan, an editor of the Columbia Journalism Review, has a little backlash for the New York Post, and the Daily News runs it. Sam and the Press. No one is safe from Son of Sam, so the New York Post told us last Monday, the day after the 44 killer shot Stacy Moskowitz and Robert Violante. And it was true. Nobody who picked up a newspaper in New York could escape Son of Sam, who is, I would guess, the biggest running mystery tale since the Mad Bomber. All week, the city's three major newspapers have been squeezing the juice from a story that they seem to consider, in a time of dull news, a godsend. Yes, the papers give an impression that they are actually enjoying Son of Sam, not only because the story may increase sales, but because it appeals to some of the deepest instincts of newspaper people. They like to get excited about a big story. Editors get a chance to deploy reporters and write monster headlines. Reporters can unashamedly play detective or sob sister. Photographers thrive on broken bodies and grieving families. What's more, it's catching. The News and the Post may be leading the way, but the Times is in the race too, clomping along in its dignified way, but doing its best to keep up with the stampede. It's true that this kind of ballyhoo has gone on a long time, as you can tell if you look up any of the murder extravaganzas of the 1920s, such as the Hall Mills or Snyder Gray cases, both second-rate episodes that became famous because the New York papers built them up. But the 44 killer offers something a little different. Would the New York Post, in the face of a threat from a political terrorist, run a headline saying, "A whole city threatened"? I doubt it. Any editor with an ounce of caution would hesitate to touch off a public panic. Yet, that was the headline the Post ran last Monday, simply because the 44 killer had committed his latest crime in Brooklyn rather than Queens or the Bronx. It is not surprising that by Thursday, a Times columnist was writing a piece headed "A 44 caliber cloud of fear" for the coverage, especially in the Post, had gone far beyond what was necessary to warn the public. Another big difference from routine murder cases is that Son of Sam may again, like a terrorist, thrive on publicity. The special gratification of having a great city's headlines focused on his acts. What more incentive might he need than the complete certainty that each time he killed, his media rewards would be bigger, eventually outweighing in the press the affairs of the nation and the world. Can't the public's right and need to know the essentials be met without taking it on the traditional joyride? Or are old newspaper habits so set that asking for a change of pace is like asking the Pavlov dog not to salivate when the bell rings? Whether properly alarmed, lured by reward money, 31K and climbing, or pursuing twisted ends of their own, New Yorkers overwhelm special police telephone lines. The main task force center near Shea Stadium sometimes logged more than 100 calls per hour. The telephone company counted some 1,000 other hourly callers who found the lines busy. Fanned by frenzied tabloid coverage in Rupert Murdoch's New York Post, including a cliched open letter to Son of Sam and sensational and false report that the mafia had joined the hunt because the killings were hurting mob-controlled dating bars and discos, an air of suspicion spread through the city. Let's hit some stats, a few more interesting excerpts, and I will finish with commentary and pose some questions. St. Louis Post-Dispatch, August 12, 1977. The arrest of a man police believe is the Son of Sam killer brought a heavy demand for newspapers yesterday, and New York's 3 major dailies printed extra copies that sold quickly. I can say that this will be one of the biggest days we've ever had, said Stan Gettelson, circulation manager of the New York Post, which ran a page-one headline that said in red ink, "Caught." The New York Times and the Daily News each printed an extra edition after police arrested David Berkowitz, 24-year-old of Yonkers, in the Son of Sam slayings. Extra editions, once a common American newspaper practice, now are almost never printed. The city's newsstands were besieged by customers. "This is the best day of my life because of this story," said Liz Dexhard, who operates a newsstand near Times Square. "My arm is so sore from giving change, it's unbelievable." She said that instead of the normal sales of 250 copies, she had sold 575 copies of the Daily News, 150 of them in less than 20 minutes during the height of the morning rush. She said her sales of the New York Times had doubled to 250 copies from 125. The Afternoon Post, with an average daily circulation of 610,000, printed more than 1 million copies, and a spokesman said he expected more than 1 million to be sold. The Morning Daily News printed an extra 200,000 papers and put out a special edition so late that the press run did not finish until after 9 a.m., an assistant to the editor said. At the Times, one extra edition was printed and more than 35,000 extra papers came off the presses. A circulation department spokesman said that all the extra papers were sold and that today's press run would be padded as well because of Berkowitz's arrest. There's some headlines and archives for you to digest. We will be revisiting the media frenzy as I'm going chronologically, and we'll come back to it once we start hitting the Maury Terry files and revisit some of the anniversary archives that we have not covered yet. So let's be realistic. Media companies are in business to make money. We get that. And newspapers want to sell papers. That's all fine and good. But do we feel that the papers made a bad situation worse? Was it a circus? Was it exploitation? If you remember this time and the climate, especially after the Moskowitz Violante shooting, it really was insane. The Son of Sam case could have easily been an episode of Kojak or Beretta or any other police show on television. Certainly, it had all of the stereotypical story ingredients: a villain, victims, suspense, the chase, the capture, and quite a few epilogues. Thank you for listening today. We will be back with more Media Frenzy and more Follow the Money.